Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2021 Porsche Macan. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is a 7-speed PDK automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Macan for two reasons. First of all, it's always nice to wake up at 7 in the morning and know that you're going to drive a Porsche that day. Puts a little smile on my face. I'm a big fan of the brand. But the second reason is because this is a base model, and I actually haven't reviewed a base model here on the channel. I've reviewed a couple of Macan S's, as well as I've actually ridden in a GTS, but I haven't really filmed a base model, and I have a lot of thoughts about this car, so I'm excited to share them with you. But before we get on with the rest of the video, if you are looking to help out the channel, there are a couple links in the description below from our awesome sponsors. One of which is Cash for Cars if you're looking to sell your used car. One is from Fixed, a Bluetooth OBD2 sensor to help diagnose your vehicle, and another from Conplates. Conplates is a suction cup license plate mount for your vehicle in case you don't want to drill into your front bumper. Each purchase or quote goes towards helping the channel, and it's greatly appreciated, so let's get on with the video. But let's get back to that 2.0 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it makes 248 horsepower, which isn't bad, especially for a 2.0 liter turbo. The car is definitely quick. It gets up and gets out of its own way. You're not really going to feel a huge lack of power unless you've driven the S or the GTS. The S makes somewhere in the 300 range, and the GTS makes almost 450 horsepower. So you are going to notice that lack of power if you're moving from a different trim level. But driving through town, driving through the neighborhoods here, I can't say I quite notice it. And this engine is shared with a lot of Volkswagen products. If you're unaware, Porsche is owned by Volkswagen, so they share this engine across multiple platforms. The Volkswagen Jetta GLI has a form of this engine. Now they're tuned differently, have different intake setups and things like that, but at its core, it's a pretty similar engine. And so that's my first tick off of why this isn't quite my favorite Porsche, because I'm paying $55,000 plus for a Jetta engine. Like I said, it gets out of its own way, but on paper, it doesn't make me feel like a Porsche owner. But like I said, paired to it is the PDK transmission. Now, PDK is a very long German word that basically ends up meaning dual clutch transmission, and PDKs have been put throughout Porsche's lineup. The 911 gets it if it's automatic, the Cayman gets it if it's automatic, and these transmissions are fantastic. They shift lightning quick, and that is a huge redeeming quality. Last but not least, this car is all-wheel drive. This is Porsche's all-wheel drive system, which is actually standard on the Macan. So let's talk about the interior. We have quite a bit to go through in here. Well, in front of me, I have three main gauges. On the left is my speedometer and odometer. In the center is my tachometer. I absolutely love this. Center mounted tachs are just so sporty. And then on the right, I do have an information gauge. I can set it to my navigation, which is really nice. It gives me sort of a top-down map. Or I can cycle through a bunch of information like I'm showing here on screen now. I think this is really, really nice. And I do love this gauge. I think it has a really nice refresh rate. I think it looks nice. It doesn't quite capture as nice as it is on camera. For whatever reason, the camera just does not like these gauges, and that's across the board in all of these new cars. On the steering wheel, I have volume and scroll knob as well as a programmable button on the left, and I have another scroll wheel for that gauge screen on the right, as well as my phone options. I do have paddle shifters around the back of the steering wheel, which is fantastic. And of course, I get that bright, beautiful Porsche badge front and center. This is a very, very premium badge. This is not a sticker, and I absolutely love it. To the left of me, I have my insert for the key. This is where you start the car. This is very typical of Porsches. All Porsches have the key off to the left. They've been doing this since, I believe, the 1950s. So, a little Porsche quirk there. Then I have my headlight settings. Nothing really too crazy beyond that. On the door, this is where we start to notice a lot of buttons, but this is nowhere near the maximum amount. I have my lock and unlock up top, which these buttons are large and they feel a little flimsy, feel a little thin. But then I have down below, I have my mirror settings, fold them, adjust them. Then I have my window settings, child locks, and I have a tailgate button, which is very, very nice. This car does have a power tailgate, which we'll talk about later when we talk about the cargo space. Moving into the center, we do have a analog clock up at the very top. Now this is another quirk of modern Porsches, and the nice thing is that in their models, they match whatever design the gauge cluster has to the design of the clock. If the gauge cluster has blue needles, let's say, the clock will have blue arms. I love this attention to detail. It's very, very important to me that they notice this. And actually with the different trim levels, you can get different clock designs. And so the gauge cluster switches with it too. Or really vice versa. When you switch the gauge cluster, it switches the clock, which I think is phenomenal. And again, such important attention to detail that I really appreciate. But then we have a giant infotainment screen. So let's talk about that. All right, so now let's talk Porsche infotainment. First of all, I love the width of the screen and I love the clarity of it. It's a very, very clear screen. It's very, very high resolution and I really like that. It also has this sort of approach feature. I'll let it kind of go away. And it can actually sense when your hand is actually coming up to the screen, so it'll offer up little things. Watch, I won't touch the screen, but up, you see that? It pops up, which is really, really nice. We can go up here to home. You can set your Porsche ID and things like that, voice control, media, navigation points. It'll show you where you are. And this does have built-in touchscreen navigation. Again, media, bunch of different options here, phone, car. We could talk about some vehicle settings here. Locking, light and visibility, climate and heating. So I can change some air conditioning controls and things like that. Go back to the car here. I can set some display things. Nothing really too crazy here in the system that I'm finding. And I can do split screen with navigation if I'd like. I can come down here to apps. I can get my weather apps, parking, news, legal info, gas station, hotel, restaurant, or online search, which is a pretty fun functional app here in the Macan. But yeah, coming back here, I can scroll with this. I can obviously go to my settings and device and things like that. Sound settings, I can sort of put this wherever I want. Change the volume, change the tone, things like that. I love, 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 like I said, the refresh rate of the screen. I think it's very, very nice. I think it's very modern, very crisp. However, one downside is that this does have Apple CarPlay, but it does not have Android Auto, which is unfortunate for people that use Androids, but not unfortunate for me. I do have a backup camera as well, which is pretty clear, and I get this nice display of my backup sensors as well. And when I turn the steering wheel, it turns the lines on the screen, which is very, very nice, a very premium feature. I look for that in nicer cars, and I can sort of X out of that if I'd like. However, I am still in reverse, so I can still back up without the backup camera if that's something I would like to do, which it is normally not. Then I do have these buttons down below here for source, sound, media, phone, apps, car, navigation, back, and option, as well as I get a volume knob and a tune knob as well, which right now, as you can see, is working for the bass, and you can see very nice frame rate when I do that. So that is very, very sweet. Then we have two climate controls down below that infotainment screen, and then we get to this slew of buttons. This has always been a big gripe for me with the Macan, and it's just reinforced because there's a lot of dead switches here. So up at the top, we have our hazard switch defroster, recirculating sync air, hill descent control, rear defroster, and my AC max button. Then we move to the left side. We have the left side temperature, because we do have dual zone, temperature up and down, fan speed up and down, auto, head, chest, or feet, heated seats, sport, traction control, and off-road mode. Then moving over to the passenger side, we have the passenger side temperature readout, fan speed, and temperature for the passenger, head, chest, feet, or auto, heated seat, lane keep assist, and automatic start stop on and off. Then in the center, we do get a Macan badge and the power parking brake. The shifter itself is nice. It does have a top mounted button to get it in gear, which isn't my favorite, but it works. And at the very bottom, I do get a 12-volt power outlet. There is just so much going on here. I understand I like having physical buttons for the climate controls. I really, really do. However, why they couldn't consolidate some of these, I'm not sure. And this has been, like I said, a gripe of mine for a while. I think it's too much. Plus, this is a base model. So down at the bottom, you just have these blank switches for like exhaust mode and suspension because you don't get to adjust that in this car. So kind of aggravating there. Then we do have two cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test for the first time here in a Macan, and it fails, of course. I really didn't expect it to pass, but what can you do? Then I get a little center console with 2 USB ports and a SIM card, which interestingly enough, this car only has USB-C. It does not have any traditional USB ports, so you're going to have to get different cords if you don't have one. Now we got to talk about the seats. The seats are pretty comfortable. They have these Alcantara inserts, they are power, and they are heated. However, they are not memory, something I would have liked to have seen for sure, but not the end of the world. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2021 Porsche Macan, and a couple of things to note back here. First of all, I do have temperature control down here, as well as 2 vents and 2 more USBs. These are also USB-C, so again, your backseat passengers are going to have to upgrade their wiring as well. I do have a center console back here with 2 cup holders, which is very nice. And that's about it. Of course, power windows, blah, blah, blah. Now, there is an issue with the back seat, and that is the fact that it is very small. And that's not just me. Now, I actually rode pretty comfortably in the back of one of these for about 2 hours one day in Colorado as we went up and down the mountains and got dinner. And I rode back here with my girlfriend, and we were actually pretty comfortable. It was a nice, comfortable ride. However, I have another friend that owns a Macan. Shout out to Nick from Today We Wrench. And he has a young son, and his son still requires a car seat. And as he showed me one day, it is very hard to get a car seat in here as well as a child. These door openings are not very large, and the back seat is not very spacious. So for him, it's quite the mission just to get his kid in the car so they can go to dinner, so they can go to the store, things like that. So the back seat is definitely a downside of the Macan. Now that comes with the fact that it is a smaller vehicle. You know, if you want a big back seat, go up to the Cayenne, but you know, that comes with a huge price increase as well. So just something to note, if you do have children, if you plan on having a car seat back here, or if back seat space is very, very important to you, you might want to look elsewhere. But now let's take a quick look at the trunk. Well, first of all, before we get to the trunk, the leaves are starting to turn here in Chicago, which is just, it's a beautiful sight. It makes me happy. But anyway, I do have a power trunk for the Macan, which is very, very nice. Come back here. And there's a decent amount of storage space. Now, again, not as much as you would find in a larger SUV. I would say definitely comparable with the seats up to like my Mazda 3 or the Mazda CX-5. Again, I'm just more comfortable and more familiar with these vehicles. Not the end of the world. I do have these little nets here. I have a power outlet back here. This is what I look for in SUVs. I love this for camping, just any power reason back here. I know it's really for tire inflators, but you know, still like that. And then if we pop it up here, we do get the Space Saver Spare from Porsche, which they paint an obnoxious color in order to bully you into getting a new tire put on. So really, really nice that you do at least get a spare. It's not just fix a flat. But anyway, I've heard complaints about the cargo space. Honestly, to me, it doesn't seem too bad. But again, it is a smaller SUV, so pick your battle. Now we got to talk about the looks. I really do like the look of the Macan. I think the stripe at the bottom makes it look a little cheap. I do not like that. However, I do like the overall look of it. I think the headlights are stellar. I think the taillights are stellar. I love the Porsche badges. I love the wheels. Porsche is very good if you go on their configurator, which I would highly recommend going onto their website and building your own Macan, just for fun even. They have so many different wheel options to pick from that I really, really appreciate that. But overall, I think it's a handsome looking SUV, and they always catch my eye, whether it be the Whole Foods parking lot or the Trader Joe's parking lot. But now let's get to my final thoughts here on the base model Porsche Macan. Why do I say that this is the worst Porsche on sale right now? Well, I first want to start off with the fact that I'm a big, huge Porsche fan. I love Porsches. I really, really do. I've driven pretty much their entire new lineup. A year ago, I did the Porsche Experience Day, and I got to drive everything, including the 992, and it was amazing. The cars handle like nothing else. Absolutely fantastic. And I have to say, I don't dislike the Macan. I really don't. I enjoy this SUV. If I woke up the next morning and this was my personal car, I would be very, very happy. But to me, this is the worst Porsche on sale. Out of their entire lineup, I have to say this is the runt of the litter. Because, A, It comes with the 2.0 liter turbo engine. It's a 4-cylinder. Unless it's a Cayman, I don't want a 4-cylinder in my Porsche. These buttons are way too much, and they actually fixed this issue in the new Cayenne, but not the Macan quite yet. So I'm hoping for that day of reckoning when they'll fix this button issue. But the biggest thing to me, the biggest issue is the price tag. These start at about $55,000. So with taxes, you're looking at about $60,000 out the door. And because it's 2021 and our car market is absolutely astronomical right now, you're looking at probably more than that. And I just feel like there's other vehicles that do things better. For instance, yes, I'm also a Mazda fanboy, but I love the Mazda CX-5 Signature. Comes with a 2.5 turbo, making 250 horsepower, 2 more horsepower than this, all-wheel drive standard, and that has like a 360 camera. It has memory seats. It has heated and cooled seats. It has the radar cruise. It's very, very loaded. And those top out at like 42. I mean, you're still at least 10 grand off of this car. And they're a lot larger. They have better back seats. I really don't like the back seats of the Macan, as I told you. I just feel like that's a better value for a car. But then again, it doesn't have the Porsche badge. And I would be lying if I said that when I got in this car, I wasn't slightly giddy seeing that gold, black, and red badge looking back at me. So, if you don't care about badges, if you're just looking for a nice SUV, I'd highly recommend looking at an upper trim Mazda CX-5 or an upper trim Volkswagen, even if you want to keep it German. A Volkswagen Tiguan, something of the sort. If you don't care about badges, don't buy the base model Macan. But if owning a Porsche is your lifelong dream, something you want to do, something you want to get under your belt, this is one of the more affordable ones you can get into. So, it does have its perks in that respect. So, when I say that this is the worst Porsche on sale, just know that I hold Porsche to the highest of standards. And even the worst Porsche is better than the best Jaguar, or really insert almost any other auto manufacturer into that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you Porsche fanboys don't quite come for my throat. Just hear me out. I love the brand. I really, really do. This car just, I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.